Are you reluctant to collaborate? And particularly, I'm talking to the women out there. Are you reluctant to collaborate with another woman? Are you not willing to give up to train another person because you might have to give up control and no one maybe can do things the way you do? My name is Suzanne Hart, and welcome to Unstoppable Mindset. Our conversation today, our topic today is why your beliefs around collaborating, particularly with another woman, might be hurting you. It might be impacting your income. So, this conversation is for you if you want to take your life and business to a totally different level. You're going to absolutely love this conversation if you want to expand your reach, have more impact, and reclaim your time. Yes, reclaim your time. I am so jazzed for this conversation because there's so many places and spaces that we can go with it, and I think it's one that is often playing in the background that we don't talk about. So, as you jump on, I'm going to ask you to do what you usually are asked to do. Please let us know who you are, where you're joining us from, what you do while you're living, and who you are called to serve. Who are those people that you believe you are here to impact your tribe? Let us know who they are. As you join us, also let us know what brought you out tonight, and if there's a particular conversation that you would like to hear, a particular something we want you want us to focus on. Put your comments, your questions in the comment section. If you're listening to the replay, thank you very much. Hashtag replay. And then also go ahead and put your particulars, your name, where you're joining us from, what you do while you're living, and who you're called to serve in the comment section. You might be asking me, now, why do we ask you to do that? Because this is our networking opportunity. This is virtual networking. You would be surprised at how many people watch the replay, scroll the comment sections, and they may find your information and want to reach out to you because you do something that has them curious. So, as you jump on, comment, let us know who you are, what brought you out, and get in the conversation, even if it's a replay. The other thing I'm going to ask everyone to do, whether you're listening live or you're listening to the replay, is to bless a life. What I mean by that is I'm asking you to share this conversation with someone. Share it with a friend, share it on your page, share it in a group you belong to, but share the wealth, because knowledge is power, not only when we act on it, but it's also powerful when we get in conversation. I know that when I learn and train and teach, I actually, things go deeper within me. So let me talk to you about who's joining me tonight. You know her. She is the person that I do a lot of collaboration with. And we thought it'd be fun to talk a little bit about our collaboration, because one of the things that we notice is people have been asking us with a lot of curiosity, like, how's it work? How did it start? What's it like? And partly because we are two women uh, collaborating, and it's been about 2 years and a bit, and we are still smiling. We're still having a great time. So please welcome back the social media strategist, Taria Hodge.
All right. Great evening, everyone. Great evening, Suzanne. Thank you once again for having me on Unstoppable Mindset for Super Achievers. And I have to say, this is like one of my favorite topics. So, this is the second time we are actually talking
Absolutely.
about our collaboration, publicly. And so, I think, yeah, we definitely have some more, to add to the conversation. So, super excited for tonight's
Now,
talk.
we've had some interesting conversations. So just to let everybody know, I think Tria's trying to make me jealous because she's got the blue ocean in the background. She's back in St. Thomas. Now, I'm here in Canada, dreaming of sunshine. So she's just thought she'd bring the love and the sunshine today.
That, that's that's all I'm doing. I'm just spreading the love, spreading a little bit of warmth, with everyone who doesn't have that. So I'm not trying to make anyone jealous. I'm just sharing the love.
All right. Uh, so I'm having a little challenge over here. Let me just clear that up. All right. So let's jump into this conversation, Tria. And when we started collaborating, it was well. Let me just share a little bit of the story. So Tari and I met at an event, and we ended up in a conversation on the couch. And I shared some of my hopes, my desires, my dreams with her. And in that conversation, we realized that we had a lot of synergy. We had a lot of common goals. We were both from the Caribbean. We had a desire to live 6 months in the sunshine and 6 months in mainland, which is North America. And we also love to serve, and we also love to grow. So we started kind of getting into conversation. But this is also the interesting thing was Taria had a service that I was interested in, social media, and I had a service that she was interested in because she was looking for some mindset work. And we became each other's clients. And from there, as we began to get to know each other, as we began to learn about each other, as we began to work together, we realized that we had common values, we had common beliefs, and there was a ease and grace and flow when we were collaborating. And so there ensued the beginning of a collaboration. And why am I sharing with you with this is because often people are like, how did it start? And I think the key thing that I always say is values. Over time, as we got to know each other, we kind of went through the know, I like, and I trust you. And the trust came because we had common values. Would you not agree?
I definitely do agree, and that's the first thing and the biggest thing. Sometimes I think that's necessary, it's needed, but a lot of people miss it. So a lot of people, sometimes jump into collaborations and they talk about collaborations, they talk about partnership, but little work is done, to establish the foundation. And I think identifying values,
Mhm.
being able to, communicate your values and putting them on the table first and see if you have value alignment is like the first step. That's the
Absolutely.
that's the very first thing. And I think sometimes when people talk about collaboration and wanted to collaborate, they don't have that conversation. That conversation doesn't show up until something happens or until there's a negative rub, right? And then it's like, oh, let me go back and take a look at some stuff. And then you realize that, you know what, we didn't have a value alignment to begin with.
Yeah, I think there's values, and I think it is common goals and goals that you hold near and dear. I know one of the things about our collaboration is we get excited about the place we're both going. We have a common vision, we have a common goal, and although we come from different places in the conversation, you come from a social media point of view. I come from a speaking and mindset point of view. So we're different, but we're going in the same place. And values are so key because how we're willing to get there and what we're willing to do aligns.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So I want to jump in and talk about beliefs and conditioning. And when I was thinking through this conversation, one of the things I think oftentimes where women particularly think that collaborations can't work is because of mindset, beliefs, and conditioning. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that's the whole thing, right? When you think about collaborations, what are some of the things that you think about collaboration? And we're going to talk a little bit about competition. And I know competition is like a big thing. So how do you, when you approach a collaboration, how do you actually see the collaboration, or how do you hold the collaboration? Do you hold the collaboration as, you're one entity and then the other person is, another entity, but you tell yourselves that you're going towards a goal, but secretly on the inside, right, you have your desires and you have the things that you want to see. And it could, if it's not checked, it could show up as competition that can cannibalize the collaboration. And so one of the things that I know I have to check, and I'm being totally honest and being totally candid, like when we started to work together, like these little things started to like pop up for me. right? Like, oh my gosh, and it's not like it's in a bad way. I had to look at it and say, how can I rethink it? Like we would say, hey, we should be going ahead and do this. This is the goal. So this is what needs to be done. And then I'm sitting in the background and I'm like, oh man, Suzanne thought about that. Like, I think about that. Oh, and then there's that little, feeling, that queasy feeling that you get in your stomach, right? And so what I've learned is to pay attention to when
Mhm.
things pop up and to redirect them quickly, right? And it could be like a good energy. So how can I take this thing that I'm feeling, right? Or this seed of
Yeah,
competition or this seed of not enough and turn it around and put it towards the benefit of us working together. So, like, part of my journey has to be had to be able to recognize those things, and then
yeah,
when I recognize them, bring them to you. So don't just sit. And that's another thing. Like sometimes we sit with so many things, like we're going through all of the internal turmoil, the stuff in our head, we're thinking about stuff, and we don't bring things to our partners to have a conversation. And so I know, or what I notice is when I started to bring these things to you, you were once again able to say, hey, let's take a look at this and let's see how we could turn this around. Let's see how we could work to
yeah,
make this better and everything. And so that just dispels like all of the seeds of competition and to know that we are working towards the common goal. And then a lot of it, I have to say this too, a lot of it, Suzanne, is trust, right? So when we enter into collaborations, once again, what's really running in the background? So do you fully trust the person that you are collaborating with? Do you
right.
trust that they have your back? Can they trust that you have their back? And I think when things fall apart, for people and especially women, it comes down to that trust because that seed has always been there, haven't been addressed, right? And so the minute a problem, arises, people are like, oh, I gotta jump, I gotta bail, or I gotta get mine because I don't know how long this person is gonna be around, or you can't sit. Like I love what you say, you can't sit in the delay. So it's like you're watching,
Mhm.
somebody else's season. And even though you're working with them, like you feel a thing inside, like that should be my season. No, wait, your season is gonna come. Just
Yeah.
go ahead and serve and trust.
You said so many really important things just there, and I want to start with um, just difference, right? And I know that my superpowers and your superpowers are not the same,
Mhm.
and and that's really key because sometimes when we get into that comparison game and someone's doing like I come up I am definitely the idea visionary, things like you give me pieces, I'm putting them together, I'm writing programs as we talk, and so that's my sweet spot, and I bring that to the table where you're like the technical and you're the execution and you get things done. So one of the things about making collaborations work is to embrace each other's differences as what makes the whole work. And so it's getting out of the comparison of she has this and I don't, and I have this and she doesn't, to what she has is my complement and what I have is her complement. And I know oftentimes I'll bring the vision and the idea. And as soon as I place it in front of you, tree is off and running and it's like fireworks. And then we're into this banter. That's the dance in terms of our collaboration. So I think that's one of the key things is that we have, I don't want to be collaborating with someone who has the same gifts as me, who does the same things as me, because then I'm not expanded. If you understand what I'm saying, where if I collaborate with someone who is in that difference, there's an expansion of what's possible.
Yeah, I was just about to say, as you talk about that, one of the things came to mind is to be secure in who you are, right? And
And that's work. That's work all the time. And I think let's just be truthful. You know, the entrepreneurial journey, and I see Dakisha's on, I see Nisi's on. Hello, beautiful ladies. One of the things about the entrepreneurial journey, it is a roller coaster
Yeah.
of highs, lows, certainty, doubt. I got it, I don't, I can do it, I cannot. And I think it is monitoring those within ourselves as we're also in collaboration, because I could be in my sweet spot and my great season, and someone else could be in that place where they're just in doubt, and so on and so forth. And again, it's those things that we got to look at. And I think you said it, communication is key.
Mhm.
And I think when a relationship, I know for myself, I come to most relationships trusting. There's a foundation of trust. And from there, I believe I continue to build trust. However, trust is built for me in two ways: open and honest communication. If the person has a level of integrity, in other words, you do what you say you're going to do, and we are able to resolve things. Like there's that communication with the intention of resolution. And I think it's that's the stuff that allows us to know each other,
Mhm. Yeah.
right?
I really like that. I was gonna say something about being on the entrepreneurial journey. And so it's really interesting. Sometimes when we step into this journey, sadly enough, for a lot of us, especially, women, we think like it's a one man's journey, you know, and we try to wear all the hats and do all the things and
Mhm.
know everything, because a lot of times that's what we kind of hear in the marketplace, and then unfortunately, until you get to that point of burnout or breakdown, which I found myself sitting in that space like, oh my gosh, like this is not it. How I'm doing life, it just isn't it. And something needed to change. And then one of the things that I realized and I came to look at is like, oh my gosh, like I'm really doing everything on my own. And I'm going to step back and say, like, let's take a look at doing everything on your own. So I'm not talking about the team building part of it. So a lot of times we talk about that, right? We talk about having the VAs and the people to build a team. But no, really, who are you locking arms with? Who are you journeying with? Who, like you said, like when you take a look at, the pie, right? Who is that person or persons that you could say, you know what, if we bind together and we serve together, we could serve more.
So in order for that to happen, you're jumping into a really neat territory. I know for myself what the work that I've done that has allowed me to collaborate. So my own personal work is this whole thing about scarcity and abundance. And when we go into a collaboration with a scarcity mindset, there's it's almost like we think the pie is finite. In other words, there's only this small pie, and I got to get mine. And if I collaborate with someone who is better than me, more connected than me, whatever it is, that they're going to get the piece of the pie that I want. And I think oftentimes when we start to collaborate, one of the biggest things is that the belief that this pie is finite.
Mhm.
I think for me, it was shifting to this abundance mindset where I believe the pie is infinite. And I know that I cannot get enough of the pie no matter what I do on my own. And so, what makes collaboration beautiful is I know that when I surround myself with amazing people and I collaborate, suddenly the pie gets bigger.
Yeah.
And my access to the pie gets bigger. So I'm now playing in a bigger pie, and even my thin slice is bigger than when the pie I had the all the pie to myself. And so that's what I think of when I collaborate, is that we're gonna work together to expand our networks, to expand possibility, to get expanded ideas, and we're gonna get a smaller slice of a way bigger pie, but it's more abundant. I
Yeah.
also, had to look at, when there's scarcity in my mindset, there's competition.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I've got to compete with you for that small slice of the pie. When you step into abundance, that begins to go away. And I think when you step into this place of abundance, I also truly believe that the people who are called to work with Suzanne are not necessarily the people that are called to work with Nisi or Dakisha or Barbara. And so for me, it is, I walk through the world thinking that I have my people, and they're looking for me, and I am out there putting myself in a position to connect with them.
Yeah.
And this is a beautiful thing. And Sharia has her people, and they are looking for her, and they are out there connecting. But this is where collaboration gets really sweet, if you sit in this place of abundance and collaboration. It's the people that are looking for Tria trust Tria. And when Tria makes the trusted referral and says, I need you to connect with my friend Suzanne, my collaborator Suzanne, that person I work with, I get to borrow her trust, and my pie expands.
Yeah.
And when my people come to me and I say, I got to introduce you to the person I collaborate with, Tria, she gets to borrow my trust, and instantly her pie expands. And so it's really about thinking that there are people that just resonate with me. There are people that just resonate, but together,
Yeah.
imagine.
So that's, I have to say that, like, that's one of the coolest things. Like, taking just a look at this past year alone, the people that I've had the opportunity to meet and serve, right? Just because of our collaboration. When I take a look back, I would have never been able to be in some of the spaces and places had we not decided to journey and lock arms. Now,
Mhm.
the other thing that stands out for me, like when we really take a look at collaboration and we put down, like you said, that scarcity mindset and squashing the competition, we're able to serve more, right? Because you could go out now and say, hey, I truly know what it is that you need. So even though, I don't provide this type of service, here's somebody that I trust. Here's somebody that I work with, right? And then we could go out, we could serve, and then we could help them. And then in turn, what do they turn around and do? They say, oh my gosh, I know these two amazing ladies. And it totally changed the scope, of my business. So let me introduce you to these to these two ladies. And then we start pulling other people into our collaborative space. And so it's not just about you and I. I love, our influencers that we're working on, our
Yeah.
collaborative team, how we are actually doing business. And I have to say, it's so different from how I was doing business before. So it's a grace, there's an ease, there's a flow to it. That there's fun. The fun is back. I think that sometimes I was losing that, right?
Mhm.
But it's just a different way, of looking at it, but not really different, because we see it like all the time. And it wasn't until I started to pay attention to it, I like, you know what? Some of the top influencers, they're doing this. You really don't see top influencers out there saying, "Hey, I'm on a solo mission and I'm,"
Do it myself.
that's the true definition of mission impossible, right? No, they're able to lock arms, with other collaborators in their space, because that's one of the things that they realize, that, the pie is infinite, and if you
Mhm.
join or you lock arms together, then everyone can eat from the pie.
And let's just talk about time for a minute, and just the, I know for myself, and most people know I come from a network marketing background, and one of the things that I took away so clearly from network marketing is that whole concept of leverage,
Hmm.
and being able to reclaim time, and get more done in less time because there's more hands.
Yes.
And I think the other thing that we don't look at is the leverage possibilities that happen through great collaborations. Now, I'll say, one of the things they say in network marketing is you work harder when it first starts, right? Because you're building trust, you're getting to know each other, you're working out the collaboration, you're working out goals and all those things. So it's to lay that foundation, it takes more time. But however, once that foundation is laid, the time you get back is so amazing. So I know, I was in Dubai, and I, you and Cindy was handling stuff here. I remember someone said, you just went live and you're sitting in the room, and I was like, yeah, that's my girl. And stuff just continued flowing, and it was almost like I had the capacity to seem like I was in two places at the same time. That's the power of doing those things. It's the power of being able to take time off and have each other's back and say, I got you while you're gone. I got you. I can do the calls, I can do the stuff. Go take your time. So that's the other piece of it, is when we leverage and we do it effectively, we're reclaiming time, whether that be a collaborator, whether that be your personal assistant, whether that be all the different things. I want to talk about emotions because for me, I know that, let's just talk about getting stuck in your feelings.
Yeah.
And I think one of the huge things about collaborations is developing the emotional muscle to know when you're in your feelings and to take the time to do your work to get clear on what's really going on. And what I mean by that is, I know I've been in situations where something has happened and I'm hot. And when I'm hot, it's everyone's fault but mine. That's just, I'm just gonna be totally candid. It's everyone's fault. My mouth got things going on, and I'm in full blown emotional state. No mastery happening here. And the learn from me, and my friend Yetta jokes about it, because we'll have conversations and I'll tell her my inside dialogue and she'll start cracking up and she'll go, you didn't say that to anybody. I'd be like, no, that's me inside. Because my inside dialogue is my emotional state that no one really needs to experience. And I think part of being a responsible collaborator is, before you go have the conversation, is to do your work. And I know for myself, as I do my work, I realize what's my responsibility, what I really need to communicate to the other person. And it really begins to package, and I have to do my own internal work, because oftentimes my emotion stuff is, I'm triggered by stuff that has nothing to do with the other person.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so interesting because as you talk about that, I can remember, the first time, yeah, that I entered into a collaboration. Let me tell you, it did not end well, right? I'm not proud to say that, but it was definitely worth unpacking, and it's something that I really had to unpack. So here it is, once again, you're going through, a collaboration, and we talked about being able to communicate. And what I realized, the stuff wasn't the true stuff that needed to be communicated
Present.
wasn't being communicated, right? So, I didn't bring my stuff, taking responsibility. I didn't bring my stuff to the table. I did not know how to say, you know what, this is coming up for me. Okay, this is what I'm feeling. Let's address this. Okay,
Mhm.
so in the end, what happened was a total big blow up. And what was really crazy about the blow up, and I felt it, like when I blew up, the person's like, huh, what? Like,
Lost.
yeah,
Lost.
like, you're losing your marbles over that. And it was because so much stuff like on the inside that wasn't said, that wasn't addressed, right? And then everything came to a head. Now, this is why I work. I'm just letting our audience know. So this is why I work with my mindset mastery mentor, Suzanne Hart. Okay, because she helps me to unpack all of these situations. And so as I started to unpack it, one of the things that I learned is, yeah, a couple things. Number one, I wasn't taking responsibility for myself. So there's things that needed to be communicated, like boundaries, right? What I needed to make sure that the space is being held for me, right?
Mhm.
Communication. I didn't communicate any of that stuff to the other person. I just thought that if I just kept doing, like eventually everything is going to turn out fine. Newsflash, no, it doesn't work like that. So we are all responsible to have communication, open and honest communication
Yeah.
the minute things come up. So then that way you could clear the air, and then you could say, hey, what are the next steps? And usually when you unpack stuff, then some of the most wonderful opportunities come come through it. Like I know you and I, we've had those moments, right? We've had those moments. We're like, you know what? This needs to be a conversation. Can we address this? Can we look at this? And by the time we get it on the table, we flush it out. And I'm gonna tell, our audience, yeah, it ain't always smiles. We on here smiling because I don't think people would watch us if we was on here crying. But sometimes some of those conversations really do involve tears. But once again, is the trust. I know that Suzanne has my best interests at heart.
Mhm.
So some of the
And
conversations might be tough, right? But they need to have. But at the end of the day, she has my back.
and I think, well, let's talk about rules of engagement
Hmm.
and from the jump. And I think um one of the big rules of engagement is that one is you'll always know where I stand,
Hmm.
and vice versa. So if I got something to say, my thing is you're going to hear it from me. You're not
Hmm.
going to hear it through the grapevine.
Fine.
Um, and two is when I deliver the message and you deliver the message to me, I think there's an agreed commitment that the person will be left whole and complete.
Yes.
So although I might be frustrated, the commitment is when this message is delivered, you're going to learn, you're going to know what I'm looking for, you're going to be left empowered, even if there's tears first.
Yes.
And so, for that to happen, this is the key thing, and this is right down in terms of the mindset mastery. There's no blaming, there's
Hmm.
no shaming, there's no guilting, there's none of that. It's a clear conversation. And one of the things that we established early on is it's not my job to hold Taria accountable. It's not her job to hold me accountable. However, we have a commitment to hold the mirror up for each other and go, well, this is who you're being right now. I don't know if you noticed, or I'm not know if you're aware, but this is kind of how you're showing up. Let's have a conversation. And so it is a commitment to reflect back to the person, this is what I'm seeing, and let's talk. And because my goal, my desire is to have you be the best person and be who you're committed to being, and to walk away whole and complete. For that to happen, I will say to everyone listening, before I engage in that work or that conversation, I'm required to do my work. And I think, and that's where my responsibility lies, is before I can get in a conversation that moves Taria forward or moves us forward, I've got to sit and do my work and take responsibility for my emotions, my thoughts, what I need, all those things, so I can ask for them. and I'm responsible for boundaries. I'm responsible for my own workload. I'm responsible for all those things. So I'm responsible for asking for what I need. I'm responsible for setting up those boundaries. I'm responsible for communicating when things aren't going well. And and I can't assume that there's a knowing on anyone's part. And I think it's that kind of one self-awareness, but emotional awareness that uh, that is so key. What can't happen, and we talk about this often, is emotions making decisions, and
Yes.
emotions having conversations,
Yeah.
and emotions engaged with each other. That is like that can't happen, and so and it grows you,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I love what you're sharing because, like you said, it forces you to take a look, at yourself, take a look at your stuff, right? And so, what are you responsible for? You bring it to the table, and I like the fact that commitment is part of it. The
Mm,
thing is seated in commitment because we did make a commitment, right? And so when you take a look at it, at the end of the day, the only thing that is expected is that we work to find a solution.
yes.
We work to move forward. So no matter, how difficult, how hard, challenging, the commitment is that we move forward. And so I've looked at things in the past and I see a lot of conversations, happening, in the marketplace. And I was just like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. Like, how deep was the commitment? Right. And so, one of the things, like you said in the very beginning, when we first met, we sat down, values were aligned, vision. I remember saying to myself, oh my gosh, this is my person because she's the only person who had a vision similar to mine, and I remember how that felt realizing that for the first time. And I
Yeah.
said to myself, what do we need to do, to work towards that vision? And it isn't easy, but the commitment is there to do that.
Absolutely. And I think the last thing I want to put on the table is expectations.
Hmm.
And they it's often said that when I have expectations of someone, I'm kind of at times setting myself up for disappointment and pain. And I think there's a difference between expectations when there's no communication.
Mm.
And so I can walk with my expectations of another person, and they're just my expectations unless there's communication and agreement. And so part of, what has collaborations work for me, whether it be you, whether it be some of the other people I collaborate with, is the willingness to sit down and establish clear expectations of each other. What can you contribute? What can you do? How much time are you able to give? What can't you do? So there's those expectations. And I think the other thing is also the understanding that we are all growing. And so I may have an expectation. So, like recently, I know part of my own realization was I had an expectation of Taria that she hadn't grown into. And so at first I was frustrated, but then I had to sit back and go, "Oh, that's her growth edge." And
Mm-hmm.
so it was really around, okay, so I have an expectation, but this person hasn't grown into that. As the collaborator, my responsibility is to hold that space and say, what can we do to support you in growing in this area? Because this needs to be done where we're going, right? And I think we probably have mutual situations where you have an expectation of me, and you're like, oh, she don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
No
But
clue.
but that's such a great mindset shift. And actually, until you said it, I never really thought about it that way. but it's something that I know we do all the time, right? And so that there's things, and for all of us, that as we continue to grow, right? We have the ability to see like the path ahead, but
Yeah.
not because we see the path ahead mean that we're ready, to step on the path. And so I always go back to the question that you ask me all the time: who are you required to become? And oh Lord, every day when I ask myself that question, I get a different answer every day. Oh my gosh, right? But that's what it is. It's such a mindset shift. Like when we run into those situations, with our collaborative partners, instead of getting angry and frustrated and going off the deep end, like sit back and say, you know what? This is an opportunity, for this person to grow. And how can I contribute, to that growth? So what do I need to do? How can I pour? And I know you and I have done that for each other throughout the
Mhm.
years, right? And it's such an interesting and a refreshing way to look at it. And it just takes out all of that angst, all of that frustration, from collaboration, which makes the work a whole lot easier.
And it makes it exciting because I know, recently we sat down and me, because I think a lot. For anybody who doesn't know, I just like my mind racing, and I'm always forward pacing. And so there's some people I could drive insane. And then there's Taria, thank God, who's like, yeah, let's go.
Okay.
And um, I'm looking at stuff and I'm saying, okay, this is where we need to go. And so we're in this growth period where we're reading like ravenous, and we're brainstorming, and it came out of we're stuck here. And to
Hmm.
get to the next level, we have some learning to do. And it was a mutual, I'm in.
Yeah.
Let's grow. Let's go do this. And I think that's the other part of it is that collaborations are really, they work when we're always like, who are we required to
Yeah.
become? Where am I required to go? What is the next level? How do we get there? And yeah, I see your gap, you see my gap. Let's figure out
Just about
how
to
do
say,
we
you
answer
can't,
those
sometimes
questions.
you can't see your blind spots,
Right.
right? And so who best to show you your blind spots, than the person that you trust. Like, hey, this is a blind spot for you. You don't see it. Let's work through it.
Yeah, fantastic. So I see Barbara has joined us.
Hey,
So for everyone listening, let us know what you're taking away. I'm curious. No, we got all women tonight that I can see so far. I'm sure there's some men somewhere listening, but all we got women in the house. So what if you have a question about collaboration that you want us to answer or do our best, take our best shot at it? Definitely put it in the comment section, but also let us know, and also let us know, um, how's this landing for you? What's it bringing up?
Yeah. I see Stacy's out there. Stacy's saying, who are we required to become? Constant work in process. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that is, one of the beauties that makes collaboration work. And what I mean by that is neither of us believe we've arrived,
Mhm.
and neither of us believe there's nothing for us to learn. So in that, we come to the collaboration with lots of curiosity, lots of openness to learn, a readiness to fail, and pick things up and keep moving. And when I say pick things up, it's learn, grow, and what's next. And become ready to be engaged in that process. And we're joking, like, here we grow again. Um, Here we go again. What is it that we're required to learn? And I think that's the part of it, because I think when you have someone who's always right, who has arrived, that makes one is it makes collaboration hard, because it makes transparency hard.
Yeah.
If I believe that the person I'm collaborating with believes they know it all, believes they're always right, I am not going to be vulnerable with that person. And I think what allows for vulnerability to thrive is when each of us knows I'm in the process of becoming my best self. And my best self today is not my best self next week. And it's that constant, right? Barbara is saying collaboration takes respect and work. Sometimes we get into each other's way inadvertently. Oh, speak, Barbara.
As you shared that last piece, it reminded me of one of the books that we're reading, you know, Leadership
Leadership,
Language.
leadership is language.
Leadership is language. And oftentimes, what really stood out, oftentimes we are in collaboration and we don't even look at it as if we are in collaboration.
Mm,
So as we take a look at our relationships are collaborations, right? And so how are you creating that environment, like you said, for people to be vulnerable, people to share, and how willing are you, how open are you to when people share? So one of the things, and I have to say this, I cannot get off this broadcast without sharing this. Another mindset shift in collaborating with you is, taking a look at how we take a look at our clients, right? So even for me, I've shifted, in saying that, oh, you know what? They're not clients. Because even like when you look at it from that standpoint, it's almost like you're here, clients here, da da. Da. No, who are you collaborating with,
yeah.
right? How are you serving? How are you, taking a look and making sure that they win, you know, and you take their win on as if their wins are your wins as well. That's a different mindset and a different way of taking a look at that relationship. So it's one of the things that people ask me all the time, about our relationship. How does it really work, right? And
Mm,
it's that thing, like we're always out there seeking the wins, for each other. And I think that that's the thing that people want to know the most about, like how does it
yeah.
happen. But like you can create it, you just have to be conscious about it. Like, do you only think about yourself, like when you're at the table, or do you think about the other person too and say, you know what, how can Suzanne win from this, right?
Absolutely.
How can Barbara win from this? Like, how can, people truly win, like we all win?
And I think that is key, because a longevity of a collaboration, whether it be a client, whether it be the person you're collaborating with, whether it be a vendor, is sitting in that place of how do we win? How do we win?
Yeah.
How do we give the best service that addresses the needs and desires and dreams of the clients, like within the scope of what we do. And even when you work with a vendor, how does that person win? When you network, how does that person win, or how can I contribute to that win? And I know for myself, when I sit in that place, the benefit for me is absolutely amazing. I think every single person I have the privilege of collaborating with, my collaboration, the monetary collaboration, came out of a desire for that person to win. And me looking and going, how can I help you win? What is it that I can do for you? Who can I connect you with? How can I serve? And that's the beginning of the foundation. And I think one of the things when we watch people network, people go out and they want to take from the
Mhm.
place. And my mentor in network marketing, said that's like um, looking at a fireplace and saying, "Give me fire." And he said, "You got to put the log in.
Stuff
You
in
got
front.
you got to put the kindle. You got to put the stuff. You got to contribute, and then the fire, and it lights, like you light it." And he said, "There's always a pouring in some way, shape, or form before there can be a taking out." And I think what makes collaboration fantastic is the pouring in before the wanting to take out. Right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right. So, last words, Tria. What would you want to leave as we go in and we prepare for December and 2022? I cannot believe that that is what we're doing.
This year went by so fast.
I know. Stacy's like, yes. What do we want? What do you want to leave people with?
Yeah, I think the thing that I want to leave our superstars and our super achievers with this evening is to really think, going forward, like who can you really lock arms with as you sit down? And this is the time of the year that I get most excited because I get to cast, I'll upgrade my vision and add new things to it and then put the plan together. So as you put your plan together, are you in the mindset of thinking that your goals, all the things that you want to achieve, you're doing them on your own and you're going at it alone? Or are you stopping to really think, like, who can I lock arms with to help me, achieve this? Or who can you say, what? This year, this is a person that I'm going to reach out to collaborate so I can help them win. And I think it's just such a very proactive way, to take a look at serving. Like that's my word, right? And and serving from the standpoint of when you take a look at those people who you are called to serve, what can you bring to them? And then knowing that as you elevate, and you help make their lives better, everything doesn't have to be you. There's so much more that you could bring, even if you bring that in a relationship. So that's going to be the charge and the challenge that I'm going to leave our superstars with this evening is as you make your plans for 2022, who can you lock arms with and journey with?
Absolutely. And success is not a solo game.
Yeah,
And entrepreneurship is not a solo game. As much as people say I'm a solopreneur, they're really that's not true. Success is not a solo game. And so it really is, as you build and plan for your success in 2022, it is really around who can I lock arms with? Where can I leverage? Who can I invite into my business? Where can I delegate? It's asking all those questions and really looking at how do I create an environment where collaboration thrives. And I think I'll also ask everyone to really consider what work am I required to do around my own beliefs, conditioning, thoughts, and mindset that that is necessary for me to create a successful and fun collaboration that occurs with grace and ease. So those are the last words. I just want to say thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us for tonight. It's always a joy. I want to thank Miss Taria for just checking in and saying hello. If anybody, one of the things I do in December is goal setting. So if anyone wants to look at a 2022 goal setting, vision casting action plan, connect with me. I'll be happy to guide you through this process because my belief is don't start 2022 without your vision, goals, and action plan created. This is the time. Yes, Barbara, this is the time. And I'm sending you back love, honey. So as we part, I want to remind you, know you're brilliant. Know you are oh so very special. And we do this work because we know the world is waiting for you to put your brilliance into the marketplace. So we will be back here in the new year. So until then, happy end of 2021, going into 22. Many blessings, and we will be definitely talking to you soon.
all right, take care.